So are you guys tired of hearing my story about staying in a tent trailer? Never heard it? Oh, okay. So I've said this story, told this story 100 times, but just kind of warm everybody up, make sure you're awake. So I've always been a camper. My wife and I tent camped until we had kids. And then we decided to get a tent trailer because we didn't know the difference. And we went up to the Columbia and down, headed east to Viento Park. Neat little park on the river on the Oregon side. Really well maintained. It's all paved and that right next to the railroad tracks, and I love railroads. So anyway, we were camping there, and that evening, it was obviously dark, but they had one big fluorescent light, maybe mercury vapor over the restrooms. And so my wife and my daughter headed down the trail, paved trail to the campground. And they had a flashlight. And anyway, they got up to this big boulder sitting right in the middle of the stinking walkway to the bathroom. So they walked all the way around it, came back. Next morning, my daughter and my wife had to go to the bathroom again. And they walked down there, no boulder. Nothing. So anyway, they came back and told me, and I said, well, yeah, it was probably a bear. And that was the end of that. So we traded the tent trailer in for a pickup camper with a bathroom and everything in it. So that was the end of that. So anyway, that's my little warm-up story. Good morning, Dave. Well, now that I've got you all warmed up. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, there you go. They are awake, see? Welcome to our 80,000th seminar. March. We are doing getting your RV ready for spring. My name's Dan. I'm the weekend guy. This is Dave Taylor, our service manager extraordinaire. Between the two of us, we have about 70 years of experience in the industry. The whole point of these seminars is to share our information with you. This is for you. We're not here to advertise. We're not here to sell you anything. We're here to give you information. So if you have questions, yell it out, because I'm really deaf and he can't hear very much. Because that's in our industry, that's a big problem. So anyway, ask questions. We're here to help you. With that being said, how many of you have tent trailers? Right on. Love it. Campers, pickup campers, trailers. Oh yeah, all right. Fifth wheels. Wow. So everybody else gotta have a motorhome. Diesel pushers? Diesel pusher? Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, we're good. All right. Questions?
I'm good so far.
Oh, good. Good.
I learn something from you every time I'm here.
Whatever.
And he says 70 years between us. I've only been doing this 5, so I don't know how old he is. But
we saw that one coming, right? It's all right. I'm a big boy. I can handle it. All of these years, he hasn't fired me yet, so.
Never will.
So
I'm gonna make him suffer and retire.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to start out this seminar this morning. Again, ask questions. We are going to make recommendations, but right now we're going to just jump right into it. And seeing as most of you are not repeat offenders, I'm going to delve into the batteries a little bit more than I do sometimes, because it's something I want to talk about every time. Batteries are the heart of your RV. If you take the batteries away and you plug into 110, the voltage in your coach that is made by your converter is going to be lower. the converter is designed to have a battery in the system as a capacitor to help with the voltage. So the batteries are very important. You can live without power if you've got a good battery, but you can't live without a good battery. Your coach just will not function. What is the voltage of a fully charged battery?
12.6 volts.
So if I had a fully charged 12.6 volt battery, what is the voltage? Oops. What is the voltage of a dead battery? Anybody know what the voltage of a dead battery is? 12? 4. No. He said 4. No. What is the voltage of a dead battery?
Well, half dead is 12 volts. So usually, believe it or not, about 11.4 is dead. But at 11.8 to 11.6, your everything in your fifth wheel motorhome, whatever you're running, is going to start to fail. Your air conditioner, because it has 12 volt control board, water heater, furnace, lights will start getting dim at 11.8. And from there it goes downhill real fast.
So the point is people call us all the time, well, I'm having problems getting my furnace to come on or my fridge won't work, but shoot, I've got 10 volts still. I'm golden. No, really not. Appliances are designed to operate on 12 to 14.5 volts. If you have a 12 volt battery and you plug it in, let's say it's fully charged, it's going to show about 12.5 volts. When you plug it in, it's going to jump up to 13.5 volts or so. So the converter or inverter is going to be adding current to that. If you have a slide room, the manufacturers, especially the brand new stuff, will tell you that depending on your make, your slide room, either your coach needs to be plugged into 110 to get maximum voltage, or if yours is the kind of coach where they want you to run the engine, turn the key on, if you run the engine, you're going to see the same 14.5 volts. That's where they want it to be, because the new slide rooms, that motor is controlled by a small module. When that room runs out and it hits the outside wall, it loads up. And that little printed circuit board monitors that load rate. And when it gets to a certain amp level, it shuts down. If your battery voltage is down around 11.5, 12 volts, Ohm's law tells us that at that load, then you will need more amps to get the same amount of work. So what that means is the board's going to shut down earlier because it's going to see that lower voltage, higher amperage sooner. So when you're running the room and the first one worked okay, the second one didn't work too well, plug it in, start the generator, get that voltage up, give it a couple of minutes, and then that room will run as designed. They are designed to run with the coach plugged in, the generator running, or in some cases the engine running. Parking brake always has to be on. So it is very crucial to have good voltage in your coach. And I want to explain different batteries before he tells you how to maintain them and that. Basically, the first time around, you're going to get a 12 volt group 24 deep cycle battery. These are about 85 amp hours and they last 2, 3, 4 years. They are a true deep cycle, but they are not the best design. They don't last as long as the 6 volt golf cart. They don't have the capacity, but they're a good basic battery. If you have a Class A or a large fifth wheel, we would probably include 2 6 volt batteries, golf carts that are big like this. They're same footprint, 2 inches taller than the 12 volt. They have a larger capacity, and they have a much larger, what they call duty cycle. 6 volt batteries can discharge and recharge twice as many times in their lifetime as a 12 volt deep cycle. And then we have the AGMs, which are the batteries on steroids. AGMs are absorbed glass mat. They put the lead plate in a fiberglass pouch, impregnate it with a jello type of stuff. And it keeps it all together so they don't outgas, they don't vaporize. They have about twice as much capacity, duty cycle, as the flooded cells 6 volts. So they're the top tier. They are the best. And if you do a lot of dry camping, you use solar or a big inverter when you're dry camping, we try to move you into the AGMs because they will last. They're twice as much money, but they'll last about 3 times as long. Very, very good batteries. Any questions so far? Good. I'm really different.
6 volt peak cycle.
Uh-huh.
That's what you're talking about.
Yes. The question is, I'm talking about in the deep cycle, golf court is a 6 volt battery. So what you have to do is you have to have 2 of them, and you wire them differently than you do 2 12 volts. That way you have 2 6 volts in series. They make 1 12 volt system. And then if you have 6 or 8 6 volts, you've got several sets of 2 batteries together. Then we bridge those in parallel, so it's a series parallel connection. Not something you want Les Schwab to try and figure out. You want to bring that to us or to a good dealer. Les Schwab's great with tires, worst place in the world for batteries. If you have an RV battery need, Interstate's very good. If you go to a little more exotic, Trojan is very good. Maybe 1 click better. And then the AGMs, there's a couple brands out there. We use Lifeline, they're very good. But they're expensive, but they last forever and they're very durable. The thing about AGMs, if you had like one of those high-end pleasure ways or something, very nice coaches, but the coach battery is inside the coach because they have so much stuff in the coach. There's no room for it outside. And the only battery that they can use is an AGM because it doesn't outgas. The 12 volt batteries and the 6 volt flooded batteries, they outgas. You have a lead plate and sulfuric acid in this chemical reaction. The sulfuric acid reacts with the lead, liberates an electron, and makes lead sulfate in water. So you get a lot of outgassing. They're a lot messier. You have to clean the tops off. You have to add water. You have to maintain all that. AGMs, it's all sealed and it's not going anywhere. So it's a lot less maintenance, lasts a lot longer, not nearly as messy, and you don't have to deal with the corrosion. Yes, ma'am.
The newer pleasure ways have the lithium-ion batteries.
I'm sorry?
The newer pleasure ways have the lithium-ion.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Starting to go back.
Are they?
Yeah.
Starting to go back from the lithium. She was saying some of the newer coaches have lithium-ion. Those haven't proven to be that great so far. So those manufacturers are actually backtracking a little bit and going back to AGMs.
And he would know that because your coach actually came from his building, not mine. So
The lithium-ions require a completely different charging system. So they're having a little bit of a lithium-ion battery comes in a box, and in that box is about that much of relays and diodes and all sorts of stuff, so that your converter, which charges at a certain rate, can charge basically, it sees a 12 volt regular battery, but it's actually this lithium ion. So this electronics in between has to do all this changing. It's not the battery they're having an issue with, it's this electronics in the middle. I know electronic stuff never breaks down, but they're not having real good luck with it. I'm not saying they won't in another 5 or 10 years. When I was 10, if you'd have told me we were going to have solar panels all over the place, I'd have said you were crazy. But we have them.
No, you're fine. We're almost to you anyway. The one last comment I have about the lithium ion is a couple of years ago, they first hit the market. There's some old guys that are out there RVing and they don't have anything to do, so they're always trying to tweak it a little bit. And I had a couple guys in here just all hot for lithium ion, and that's fine, except I was reading to him an article from the parts manager, and Rhett had sent out this little blurb saying, hey, we now can sell lithium ion batteries. And look at how great they are. And oh, by the way, they're $1,560 our cost. So we were selling them for like $16.99. And you just, how many do you think we sold? Yeah, not a one. They're just a ridiculous amount of money. So there's a gentleman here, and I know him personally, so I can say he is a gentleman. He wants to spend a few minutes in a little while talking about his book. So I think at the end of our first break, I microphone there for him. So you're going to have to stick with us for a little while. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave, and he's going to talk about maintenance and cleaning and this and that. And
I got the easy part. He's the brains, I'm the looks. This one here, Dan always says the only liquid he likes to keep track of is liquid in his martinis. So I know for a fact he's got maintenance-free batteries. I just went to him here last month. This is what you're going to have if you buy a new rig. So the main thing, we always hear, we get people call and say, I've only owned this a year and my batteries are bad. And we ask them, did you maintain them? Well, what do you mean maintain them? Well, it's very important to take these lids off and check your water inside. Sulfuric acid. If it's low and you can see your lead plate, your battery's basically done. We can try to save it for you. We'll usually top them off, charge them up 2 or 3 days. Usually once that's happened, your best bet is to buy new batteries. You notice I said batteries. If one goes bad and you have 2 batteries in there and one goes bad, you want to replace both. If you have a big motorhome with 4 and one goes bad, you replace 4. The reason for that is, if you have 2 batteries, one's bad, your converter is throwing a lot of power to that, is trickling over into your other battery. Your other battery's really not getting a good charge. So with this battery dying, it has actually taken quite a bit of life out of your good battery, because it still shows that it's good. Well, you throw a new battery in there, your converter, you plug it in, your converter comes up and says, oh, I've got a battery that needs some little extra charging. Well, the first thing it does is take that good battery you thought, start throwing all the charge into it, so you've just repeated the process. Now you're killing your other so-called good battery and starting to bring down your brand new battery. So you can play this game every 6 to 8 months, or you can put 2 batteries in there, learn how to maintain them, and keep them for 3 to 4 years. This is, nope.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
He was talking about if your water level is low and some of the plate is exposed to air.
I'm going to draw a picture too.
Oh, you okay.
Yeah, you know how I like to draw.
So anyway, my point was, once that plate sees air, that lead turns into a lead oxide. Once it is lead oxide, and it's a darker gray, you will never be able to deplate that. You will never, that part of that plate will never be participating in the chemical reaction again. It is done. So if you, because you had more things going on in your life than the water, you let it go down a couple inches, half that plate is no longer ever going to be part of the equation. So that's why he says, you know, we can do maybe, you know, look at it and clean it up, but it's shot.
It's done.
You're just packing around dead weight.
Yep. Okay, so the most important thing you can carry in a plastic bag in your RV is a hydrometer. When you go to wherever you go to buy one of these, make sure they don't give you one for antifreeze. They look the same. It needs to be a battery hydrometer. What you're going to do is pull the top off this battery, and you're going to look down and you're going to see liquid in every cell. After this battery has been charged for a couple days, you want to do this with a charged battery. Then you're going to unplug your coach. You're going to come over, pull the top. You're going to stick this down in just like you're getting ready to baste a turkey. Let the liquid come up, and you're going to watch this little arrow come up, and it should be in the green, which is the good area. You're going to do every cell, and you're going to write it down so you keep track. And you want that arrow to come up almost the same place every cell. If, let's say they all come up, but one's down here in the fair range. That tells you you have one bad cell in this battery. What that means is your converter is seeing that bad cell. It's not seeing it come to a full charge. So it is putting most of its charge into this one battery, into that one cell. And this battery will eventually get warm, and with warmth comes evaporation. So all the liquid inside is going to start evaporating out faster. We see them come in the shop all the time. We plug them in, and within 4 or 5 hours, the batteries are smoking. They're boiling, and it stinks. And that can be dangerous. I've actually seen them blow the tops off. I've seen them catch fire. So the liquid inside needs to be up to a full mark, and I'm going to draw a picture, kind of explain to you what you're going to see when you open this top up. But if you see a bad cell, you're going to go down and get 2 new batteries. Don't waste your time trying to mess around with it. Don't talk to your buddy who's been RVing for 20 years. That is the rule. It'll save you a lot of time and heartache later. I know batteries aren't the cheapest thing in an RV, but as important as they are, you want them up. We see a lot of people come in and they say, they give us 10 items they want us to look at. And they'll say the furnace isn't lighting all the time, the jack buzzer's going off, this is wrong, that's wrong. And usually the technician will read down through the repair order, and the first thing he'll do is go look at something that's not even on there, which is the batteries. Then we'll call the customer and say, we need $400 to do batteries. And then we'll continue your list because we can't test all this without the batteries. Usually after we put the batteries in, about 80% of his list disappears because miraculously his jacks are working, his furnace is lighting. So in turn, we've actually saved him money. We went right to the root cause, which is the batteries. So just keep that in mind. Very important. Don't stick this in with the turkey baster, because if you mix them up, you'll be in trouble.
That's acid, man.
It's acid, man. Keeping the tops clean. You want to take a rag and keep the tops clean. Believe it or not, when these off gas, a little bit of that liquid will it's like when you fry sausage in the kitchen. You know how the microwave up above always gets that little bit in your glasses? That stuff lands, gets in between here. You can actually get a small parasitic draw between the positive and ground posts on a battery. So keep them clean. If you start seeing green stuff growing, you call it a chia pet, right? Looks like a green chia pet. You can usually clean that off with whatever you've been taught by your granddad, Coca-Cola, baking soda, and you can keep it clean. Take them off if you're comfortable doing that. Clean them, sand the terminals, put it back on. Usually what happens when that starts, though, is that electrolysis starts going up the cable. So your cable end can look really good, but that electrolysis is eating its way up through that cable. Well, what that causes is resistance, and again, you get resistance causes high amperage, low voltage, high amperage. So we see a lot of them where the cable looks good, but the plastic covering of the cable is starting to melt because they're using their jacks, which are wired directly to a battery, and it's causing a lot of heat there. So if you keep getting that, you need to come in. Hopefully the manufacturer's left enough on there where we can cut back to fresh cable, put a new end on it, clean your batteries good, put some anti-corrosion spray on there and get you right back to ground one. We don't mess with batteries much in the service world. We go right there.
Sorry.
No, you keep going.
So anyway, he's the brains, I'm the book kid. What the deal is what you have copper cabling, and you have sulfuric acid, copper sulfate, green chia pet.
Chia pet.
So what's happening is the outgassing from the battery is attacking the cables. So what to do? If you grew up on a farm out in poor Idaho where we didn't have money, we used baling wire and electrical tape and chewing gum. What we did is we greased them up really good to keep the air and the sulfuric acid outgassing from landing on the copper cabling. And by sealing it with grease, it significantly cut down on that copper sulfate corrosion issue. And what is in this, this is just an idea. They sell battery terminal cleaner, which is a baking soda type chemical. And if you like to play with chemicals, you can go next door and get a can of spray battery terminal cleaner, and it'll kind of clean it up, but it will not deal with the copper sulfate issue with the cabling. You're going to have to bring that in and have us deal with that. But everybody also sells a red spray-on sticky stuff that does a very good job sealing the terminals and the cable ends so that it can almost totally stop any copper sulfate corrosion issue.
Yep, so we use quite a bit of that here. It's good spray.
Good stuff, man.
I do like the battery cleaner spray because it will actually, if you got a compartment where you open it up and you got 2 to 4 batteries in there and they got road grime and dirt on them, you can use that and spray that whole bay with that battery cleaner and hose it out with a hose. And it just, I'm real big on stuff looking new, and it'll make your batteries look brand new. And it'll do a lot of that where you're not having to wipe the top. It'll get all that dust and dirt and all that residue off. What's that? Distilled water. Everybody, there was a couple old guys, we haven't seen him for a while, a little worried about the one that used to come here all the time, and he used to use rainwater. Well, rainwater has a lot of minerals in it, and that's what you don't want. That stuff will all collect in the bottom of your battery, and if it gets deep enough, it will touch the bottom of the plates and create an internal short. We used to, we have a training class at Guaranty where we take kids, young adults that have never been in an RV and train our own service technicians. Because a lot of those old guys have retired and died. In 2008, when this kind of went bad in RV land, a lot of them retired, left, got into other things. I saw her. I remember. So the first thing we teach them is, you see people all the time, they'll take them out of a motorhome and just drop them on the ground. Well, you can actually, these plates will break off and touch each other, and when you do, you got reverse polarity in a battery, and they will actually start to cook themselves without anything hooked to them. So we always tell them, when you're bringing them out, they're not a basketball. You get them out, you get them on the ground, leave them alone. So just be careful what you're doing. Yeah. What's that? Always, yes. Do I want to use distilled water?
Isn't it better to put them on a piece of cardboard or something like just on the ground?
No, it doesn't matter. My grandfather used to always say, if you put them on concrete, the voltage will run out through them faster. He's just enough older than me, like 6 months older than me, that he may agree with that, but it's going to happen. We have, your battery, if you just let it sit, is going to lose voltage. We have, all the time we will hear people say, especially people that build batteries, will say, a battery that doesn't have a draw will never lose voltage. Well, they will. So it used to be, everybody would say if you put them on concrete, there's some magical something in concrete that sucks the voltage out of them. I've never found that. So, oh, come on.
So for those of us that are, in the mid-60s and on, when we were kids, batteries were the black rubber, hard rubber case, and they tended to crack. And therein lies the whole issue. They would have very fine cracks, and the electrolyte would work its way down through the cracks, and then you'd have a current draw. But now that they're plastic, that issue disappeared 30, 40 years ago. I'm just saying, for way before your time.
You're aging yourself today, something terrible.
The last thing I want to say, and I'm going to stop interrupting you, is...
no, that isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Been doing this long enough to know.
At least we don't argue too much anymore. We used to go at it because different points of view. But anyway, I just wanted to say on the flooded cell batteries, sulfuric acid freezes at minus 65 degrees Fahrenheit. When you have a fully charged battery, that fully charged battery is lead plate and sulfuric acid and other things swimming around in there, but all we care about is the sulfuric acid is not going to freeze. If you neglect your batteries, you don't unhook them or prevent them from discharging, they soon go to lead sulfate and water, which has a slightly warmer freezing point. So the moral of this last little story, before he, anyway, just keep them fully charged in the fall and the winter. That way you don't have to worry about the battery failing.
Okay,
I'm better
you good?
now, yeah.
Okay, they gave me a paintbrush today, so I'll try to do the best I can. When you pull the covers off the top of that battery, you're going to have 6 cells. You're going to look straight down in. There's going to be a hole. The plastic that this is made out of goes down into the battery just a ways. And when you look down in there, you'll see where it goes down in, and there will be a little cutout in it. That's for off-gassing, because this is going to off-gas. It'll come up through that little hole and out through the lid. You always want your liquid to be flush with the bottom of those holes right there. If you're down a little, just fill it up till you're right there. They do make battery fillers if you want to do it yourself. You don't want to mess. Thanks, Dan. They do make battery fillers that shut off automatically when they get to the desired, well, those and then the manuals. I prefer the manuals. Make a second trip. I prefer the manual ones.
Okay, is that better?
Nope. That blue one up on top. Clear up to the left. You get it?
This one?
That's the one I prefer. If you have room.
The one that has the plunger on it.
If you have room, this has an automatic shutoff valve in it. It has a little plastic float in here so that when you put it in your battery and push down, it's spring loaded. And there's a little float in there, so when the water gets to the right height, it shuts the water off. But you, of course, have to have enough room to do that. Some campers and other items, you just can't. That's when you can actually use your turkey baster if you need to put water in there with a mirror or whatever you got to do. Or go to AGMs and never check them again. Just wipe the tops off every now and again. Okay, any more battery questions that I haven't explained or Dan hasn't interrupted about? Yeah.
So just to clarify, you have two 12-volt feed cycles in parallel. You would replace those with two 6-volt AGMs if you were going that route?
To clarify that, if you had two 12 volts and you wanted to upgrade to the 6 volt, all we do is we take, they're the same footprint, so we take them out, put the two 6s in, and we do them in a series. So you have all of your positive cables going to one battery, then you have a jumper from the negative on that battery to the positive on the other ones, and then all of your negative cables
to
the
the other
ground of the other battery.
Yeah, and the 2.6s are every bit as good or are better than the 2.12s. Yes.
The other day I was cleaning the scale off of my terminals
Mm-hmm.
and wasn't wearing my glasses. And part of that scale flicked into my eye. Now that eye doesn't see very well. So anytime you're doing anything around batteries, eyes don't fix once you've ruined them.
That's right.
Batteries don't fix.
Yep. Any more battery questions, charging questions? Okay, I got all day. I told Dan we were planning on staying here till 5. I was ordering.
So we're going to go on to...
We may be done by noon. If you can quit Dan from interrupting, we'll be done by noon.
So we're going to go on to interior, inspecting the exterior, I'm sorry. And I'd like to talk about my tire thing before you get into that, because that's basically his topic. So, is that all right? You don't mind?
Go right ahead.
Okay. So anyway, one of my soapboxes, and we'll get to the big one here in a little while on the appliances. The other one is tires. I've only met a very few RVers that I didn't like, and I was very vocal about it to them. And the vast majority of RVers are the greatest people in the world. So I believe that. So a guy's got a nice fifth wheel, and for some reason they don't use it for 2 years. Or he sold his home and he moved into his fifth wheel for a while and it just sat there. And then if your RV sits for a while and then you go to use it, we have seen this through the years over and over and over again, to the point where it's really important to share this. So a guy has a fifth wheel, hasn't used it in 2 years, and kids want to go somewhere, so they load it up, jump in, and off they go. 50 miles later, he gets a flat tire. Another 25 miles, he blows another tire. Another 50 miles, he blows the third tire, takes the whole side off his fifth wheel. Ruins the vacation. So what the deal is here, if your tires, number one, are by industry standard 8 years or older, they are a defective tire. If it's been sitting for a period of time, and we usually say 2 years, if it's been sitting for 2 years, you've developed a flat spot in the cords. And this, I don't drive my Cadillac very often, and so when I first get it out, I get out of my quarter-mile driveway and I get on the road and I get a little bit of thumping and then it goes away, but that's the flat spot. If your fifth wheel or your trailer hasn't moved in a couple of years, that flat spot is extremely pronounced. And what's happening, and you don't know it because you're not riding in it, it's going down the road and it's just thumping away. And pretty soon that tire gets warm. The cords have already separated because that's how it creates the flat spot. Now that tire just lets go and you have a flat tire. We have the same problem with motorhomes, and unscrupulous dealers say, hey, look at those beautiful tires. What they don't say is, oh yeah, those tires are 11 years old, but the coach wasn't used, so they look great. So what you want to do, that's all right, I can just, nah.
Okay.
You have on your tire, you have in parentheses 4 digits. And what those are is that's the week and that's the year. So if your tires are 1407, that means they were built on the 14th week of 07. And I know we can all do that math. That tire is obsolete. It may look fine, but even these great big ones like we have out here, they look great. They may have a couple cracks in them, but they are a dangerous tire because they have sat for those 11 years, and they may have sat in various places, but they have several areas where they're starting to break down and have separation and failure. It's just a natural fact. So if your rig is sat, or if you're looking at a used rig and you're buying it from a customer or a dealer, that you need to be aware of the fact that when that tire is 8 years old, it's obsolete. It's done. And that's how you tell. If you own your rig and it's sat for 2 years, or a motorhome sat for 2 or 3 years, you're all good people. You're worth a set of tires, because we don't want to see or read about you on tipped over whatever tire failure while you're going down the highway. This is an important thing. So please, set of tires can be a little bit of money and you may not have them in the budget, but it's better than funeral costs. And we see this all the time. One last comment. There's a lot of people that go to Les Schwab, and Les Schwab, that's all I put on my trucks is Toyos. In the RV industry, Toyo and other companies don't really build a good trailer special tire. They do build good pickup tires, but a lot of the fifth wheels and the trailers, the difference between a trailer fifth wheel towed vehicle tire and a light truck tire or a truck tire is the way they build the cords. A good trailer like Goodyear builds a good special trailer tire. It's ST205 or whatever. That's special trailer. They wind the cords differently. They aren't designed to handle the torque from a drive wheel. They are designed to be drugged down the road, and they're a much more stable, much stronger tire. A lot of the fifth wheels use light truck tires, and there are some that are better. And I would refer to a good dealer, not Les Schwab, because they're just going to sell you off the rack. There are tires that are very good that you may not be aware of that are no more money. We sell some tires here that are half the price of a Goodyear or a Michelin that are actually every bit as good a tire. And I'm just saying you need to step back a little bit, look around for your tires, just don't run to Les Schwab. And be cognizant of the fact that there's definite time constraints on your tires. And if they've sat for a few years, do me a favor and buy some tires. Okay, I'm done with that soapbox. It's all yours.
I love that one.
Okay.
I can never hear enough of it.
Okay.
Does the cold affect your tires? Like
No,
if
not
you're
really.
cold,
No.
you get a flat spot on it?
Yeah, the flat spot's the whole thing. So if you have a motorhome or a fifth wheel or trailer with power jacks, it has to be power jacks because little stabilizers are not designed to lift. But if you've got a motorhome or something with hydraulic jacks like most of the big fifth wheels nowadays, run them all the way up. The manufacturers tell you it's good for the frame and it's good for the tires and the springs and that. If you're storing it, run the jacks all the way down, lift that coach up, take some of that pressure off the tires.
Okay, we good? Because if we're not out of here by noon, we're going to be in trouble.
I'm sorry.
Or she'll wait.
Yeah. Wow.
But she wants it right now.
I can't even top that one today. At any time, if anybody, we get long. Dan and I have been known to go long, 2-3 hours long, depending on what we're talking about. At any time, if you've got something to do, get up, wave at us. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. We understand. Inspecting your exterior. What you're going to do, you're looking for seals, seal leaks. You're going to get up on the roof. You're going to look for anything that looks cracked, any openings, any cracks in your roof vents, your air conditioning covers where the screws go on to hold them if there's cracks. We see them driving down the road here all the time with one AC cover missing. They don't even know it. Just ripping down the road. So I'm going to draw a short picture with my paintbrush. I love to burn through this paper. Excellent. We're going to go up on the roof and let's say we're looking at your fantastic fan.
And they are fantastic.
They are fantastic. You're going to have screws that mount it to the top of your roof. Well, they put this on at the factory. Some manufacturers do, some don't. Put some putty tape along the underside rim. They stick it down in the hole, get it all squared up. There's a guy downstairs putting the interior piece on. The guy upstairs is slipping screws in there as fast as he can. As soon as he gets the screws in, it moves down the line, and the next guy takes this machine. He's up on the roof because they have the sealant in 55 or 500-gallon barrels off to the side, and they start sealing this roof. So they're going to go around all these screws, kind of like that. I'm not going to do the whole thing. And then they're going to overlay it so that it rolls out over this edge. So what you're going to do is get up there every 3 months, or have somebody else, a grandkid, whoever you want, teach him what to look for, and he's going to look all over. If not, we do free roof inspections. Just call and say, hey, when can I get in? We'll run right out in the driveway, let you know what you got going, and you can either leave it and we'll fix it, or you can take it home. What you're looking for is any little, you'll see hairline cracks. It's hard to draw with that thing. That is huge. You'll see these hairline cracks starting, and it's usually right above where this lip meets the roof, because there's two different materials and they expand and contract at different rates. So what it does is it works that sealant back and forth, because this is a sealant that doesn't get hard, but it does get old, and it'll start to expand and contract, start getting cracks. Then what happens is you start getting mold down in this crack, and that mold starts, and mildew starts eating the crack, and before you know it, you got a great big open spot right about here, where every time it rains, that water's running in. It's not dripping down through the vent, it's hitting on a joist that goes across there and rolling down into the wall over here. So after a while you start saying, this trailer smells funny, because we can smell it right away. We can walk into a trade-in and go, okay, I'll tell the new guys, I know it's here, you find it. Sometimes it'll take them hours, but we will find a rotten wall, rotten floor, rotten roof, and it's ugly when you find it. It can be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, if not total rig. So you're looking for these cracks on your side seams of your motorhome. I'm drawing a weird motorhome here. Around your windows, your entry door, anything that they cut a hole into this unit for has sealant around it. You need to check that sealant if there's big gaps. If there are gaps, you want to take an old toothbrush. He likes to use his old toothbrush. With the end whittled down. Whittled. You can tell he's old. He's calling it whittled. We just use a belt sander and sand them down. So you're going to take and you're going to start scraping that sealant. You're going to get it all scraped off. You're going to get some stuff called Acrosol, which is like this. It's an auto body degreaser. You're going to spray that on there. Don't let it get all over your decals. It can hit your decals. Just wipe it off. Don't let it sit on your decals, because it'll actually work under the decal and soften the glue. You get a little bit of, what's that?
I can remove my decals with that then.
So you can start peeling them, and this will actually help remove decals. That's what we use. So you're going to give it a little squirt. You're going to work it. You're going to hate it. It's going to be the worst experience of your life, because you're out there for an hour on this one little door, but it's saving you money. You're doing it yourself. My wife gets mad because we'll go camping, and about the second day in, I'll be a little bored, and she'll catch me around the other side of the fifth wheel over there scraping seals and sealing, and it's just what I do. What you're going to do is use, this is what I keep in my toolbox. It's called Par Bond. This was what I consider to be the original sealant. 30 years ago when I started in this industry, we used a lot of Par Bond. It's sticky, it's gooey. You get it on you and it's a mess. This isn't like silicone. We don't like silicone. Silicone is not the proper thing to use on the side of an RV. I'm going to give him the short version about silicone. You stick it into two different surfaces. He has all the correct words and stuff to use. but it will not seal to both. It leaves an opening almost instantly. And silicone, if you get it started when you're peeling it, you can grab the end of it, peel the whole thing off. Makes it easy to peel. Boy, maybe I ought to reuse that because next time it'll be easier to peel. Well, you can reuse that, but you're going to be resealing it every 30 days. So you use par bond. We also use some stuff because some of our jobs are bigger called ProFlex. This is for side seams, not roof. This is side seams, windows, doors, vertical surfaces. So I carry this because it sits in my toolbox and has a nice little cooled lid, a lot better than this because I live in my fifth wheel. So this one I can do a nice little seal. It rolls up like toothpaste, squeeze it out on there. Practice on something. Get you a couple boards and lay next to each other. Less is more. That's another thing we got to teach the new guys. You'll see them get a hold of that tube and half that tube will be on that window. And then it takes them 2 hours to clean off 9/10 of the tube they didn't need to use. You want to fill the void. You'll see the technicians do it. Don't lick your finger. You don't lick your finger and smear a couple inches and then lick your finger and smear a couple inches because there are chemicals in it. But with silicone we used to do that and it works really well even with this sticky stuff. So what we always tell people, just get a little water or a little alcohol, denatured alcohol, rub your finger on it. When you attack this with your finger will lift off and it won't grab any of the sealant. Makes it real pretty. It's just like you're spreading butter.
Does that come in colors or is it just
You can get white and clear. So, that's right, aluminum, because of the old aluminum roofs. Woo, that's going back. Yeah, I know. Airstreams, yep. Great stuff. So,
is that on the roof?
nope, we're going to go to roofs. For roofs, you're going to use what they call a lap sealant, Dicor. Now, I'm not going to confuse you. There's two brands out there, Dicor and Acrylar. The best thing to do is just get Dicor because it works on every roof. It'll work on aluminum, fiberglass, rubber, EPDM, and now we have ABS roofs. It'll work on them all. Acrylar is only good for fiberglass and aluminum. It will actually start to both. It's not good for EPDM or plastic roofs. What does EPDM stand for again?
Dimorphic rubber.
Okay. He tells me that every time, and I can't remember. I know it's ethylene something. We call it EPDM. That's good looking guys that can't remember things. So you're going to take this, but first you're going to go up there, and you're going to take that toothbrush, and you're going to take that crack, and you're going to put a little of this Acrosol on it, and you're going to clean that crack out, and then you're going to take an old shop rag and wipe the top off, and you're going to wipe it off, you know, out here and up here. Then you're going to lay with your silicone gun, we call them silicone gun, caulking guns. You'll notice this stuff squirts out like sour cream, and it's a self-leveling. So you're just going to go right along that crack, squirt right along that crack, and it will self-level. You come back to it in 5 minutes, it'll be nice and flat and cover that crack. And you're going to do that for a year or so, a year or two. Eventually, you're going to get this stuff built up. It's going to start getting ugly. There comes a point where you have to come in and say, okay, what do I do now? And we talk you into a peel and seal, which, like tires, is a little bit spendy. But we send people up and they take scrapers and they peel off about 90% of this seal. And then, of course, we charge you to go up there and replace all the sealant with all brand new sealant. So depending on your unit, this can take 8 to 15 hours at $130 an hour, plus $9 to $15 for 12 to 15 to 20 tubes of sealant. So it's not a cheap thing. So if you maintain it, you're going to stretch that life out on that seal. Again, side sealants, if you don't care and you're going to trade it in every year, let the rot and all the water leaks go to somebody else, I guess. But trailers are pretty spendy, and RVs just to trade them in every year. My wife would love to. Every other floor plan she sees is our next one, she says. So we've owned 3 in 5 years. We're done. So keep stuff dry.
Well, so I had another RV place tell me to just use the silicone. So should I go take that off now? I just did it around the windows and the side seams.
If they said silicones, they told you the wrong thing.
Yeah, and they just said use alcohol to clean it off.
Another RV place told her to use silicone.
Yeah, so I just did all that.
I would not take my coach back there ever again.
I would just wait until you start seeing it separating, which it will, and peel it off and use this next time. I wouldn't just
Oh, no, you just use the silicone. I did.
yeah. Silicone is great for certain things, not for that.
Well, now I have experience. I can do it the right way.
Yeah. And I'm sure if you get everybody's phone number, they'll come help you.
Would you use it in your bathroom too?
Well, it all depends on what you're sealing. The question is, would you use it in your bathroom? If you're sealing your shower surround or something, silicone is kind of the preferred choice, even from the manufacturers. The main reason is this stuff lasts long enough. When you go to peel this off, let's say you do a whole bay door. Bay door's about like that, and you get a little crack about that big. You're going to find you're going to start peeling that. You're going to come to a point where you're going to say, that guy at that seminar is crazy because this stuff doesn't clean off. It doesn't. This is not going to peel off like silicone. This is going to be a nightmare to get every 100% of it off there. So what you're going to wind up doing is taking that cracked area, cleaning it, and adding a section in between. Because this stuff is, when it sticks, it's stuck. And it's hard to get off. We actually have technicians that are trained that can take a razor blade, bend it the right way, and they will actually shave the side of your motor home and shave the sealant off. And it saves a lot of time. Have a great one. We'll see you next time. I know we've seen you before.
It's great.
This young lady right here.
Yeah.
You didn't answer my
Hold
question.
on. Oh, okay. Bathroom.
Would you use that on the bathroom or not?
I'd have to look at your bathroom.
Well, there's nothing wrong with
Because
that. I'm just thinking about
you would have to look at it and see what the manufacturer used there. Some use silicone, some do use this. The problem with this is, again, if it starts getting moldy, or showers like to get moldy. Right. So if this does start to get moldy, it's almost impossible to get off of 2 plastic surfaces. So manufacturers usually in the bathroom do go to silicone. However, most manufacturers have a shower. I know I'm getting long on this. I apologize. We'll have to speed up on something else. We get people in all the time that say, my shower's not sealed. My shower's not sealed. Do that on purpose. If you're looking at your walls here, they have a shower pan that, I'm trying to draw this out, that goes like that. Your wall that goes, this 2-piece wall or 3-piece wall that's in your shower, actually comes down over this large lip. So they don't seal them in here. So what happens is the water gets there, it just rolls right back out and dries. They do that for a reason. Because what will happen is it'll be 32 degrees out here, 70 in here. You get condensation between this wall and the wall of the shower. They don't seal the top either. We get people that come in all the time. You guys didn't seal it, so I did. Well, Mr. Customer, you need to go home and remove that because the manufacturer has built in a way for air to come in between these 2 surfaces and keep the wall dry. So what you've just done is stopped that. So now you're going to get condensation in between the 2 walls, and you're going to start rotting your wall panel. That makes sense? So I use silicone because I don't like tub and tile caulk. I think it's harder to clean up than anything in a mess. So
Young lady right here.
he was first, or she was first, sorry. You're next. Yeah.
If your RV is stored under cover all the time, with the roofs, is it still as essential that you always inspect it? Is it a weather, rain thing that causes the cracks, or is it just the temperature?
It can be anything. Temperature, rain.
You should still inspect it even if it's under
Yep.
cover all the time.
You should inspect it because you don't know what's hit your roof. We do probably 40 complete roofs a year here. We probably did 20 in January because we get a lot of customers. We will actually fix their tears, have them come back in off season so we can do their work for them. We get people that call, I need a roof inspection. It's only 8 months old, but I want to have you look at it. We get up there and we take a picture and go down and say, we don't know what tree you hit, but you've got a 9-foot gash in your roof where it's flopped open, and there's, not only do we have to replace the rubber, we have 4 panels we have to replace on the outside because they have soaked in water and swelled up. So it's good to get up there every 2 or 3 months just to do a visual. You never know, a squirrel could have chewed a hole in it.
Or you drove along
Columbia Gorge. I've seen them. We went to Seattle here a couple months ago, and there was a guy coming down the road with a toy hauler, and they have kind of a sloped front, and I could see that his front rubber roof looked like a huge white flag, and I could see it a mile before he ever got to me. I mean, he didn't even know what was happening. Just driving along. So I noticed there was nobody really close to behind him though. So yeah, it's good just to check it. Plus, a lot of I know you're dying to talk. I hate to say this because I don't hate to say it, it's the truth. I always ask people when they want to come talk to me, if you want the truth, I'm the guy for you. If you want me to lie to you, you need to go somewhere else. Manufacturers give you this book and this neat little thing or whatever they give you in your trailer or your RV. Somewhere in one of those pages, hidden down at the bottom in really extra small letters, right underneath those small letters are some extra small letters. And it says that the sealants, chemical sealants on an RV are only warranted for 90 days. Not all manufacturers, but the majority. So what happens is you have it for 6 months, you come in, and there was a big gap on your roof that you didn't see. Of course, you want it under warranty. Dan's got to tell you, see these really small, and then he gets his glasses off and shows you. And then instantly, we have an unpleasant situation. It's not the services department that there's a hole there. Sure, there's a chemical failure, but they've put that clause in there. The majority of the time, if we call them and can say, hey, 50% of the time we can call them and talk them into paying for it. The other 50% of the time at Guaranty, we have a deal with sales. So usually under your first year of warranty, if you come in and you have some little sealant issues that aren't, huge, we already have rotten walls, sales pays service to take care of their customer. This is one of the only places I've ever worked that's done that. Sales gives us, we don't even have to ask. They just give us a certain dollar amount to use on every customer that buys here for things that warranty does not want to cover. And I'll bet you that saves 30 arguments a week with customers. And it's great advertising too. I always tell them they don't want to admit they do it. They just want the customers taken care of. I always tell them it's a great thing. It's a great thing you can do for your customers. Take the burden. They sold it to you. They take the burden. But in that first year of life or warranty, that gives the service writer and the service team our chance to tell you, you're on your own after a year here, so you need to get up on that roof and check it, because nobody else is going to help you out after this. So, okay, you're here.
So the par sealant, does it bond to itself?
It will.
Does the surface need to be completely clean, spick and span?
It will seal to itself, but if you're doing a little spot in between, yeah, you still want to get some degreaser just to clean road grime and dirt and tar off.
Okay.
And yeah, this is good stuff. Yeah. Yep. Okay, I'm going long. Why don't we take 5 minutes? Okay.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Acular was one of the roof things. What was the name of the other one?
Parbond, or Dicor.
How's that spelled?
D-I-C-O-R. And my parts people were so excited they got to go down to this big thing in Texas where we buy all our parts in bulk. And they actually got to meet this guy. Because he's like the, who was the bathroom guy? Mr. Clean. So he is so well known, they actually have bobblehead dolls of this guy. They brought him back. I know, a little weird story there, but they could not wait to tell me. They met this guy.
Let's have him do his speech before.
Want to do it first? Okay, you want to introduce Mr. Macy?
Well, I don't know. Do I?
I don't-
I can talk loud.
No. How do you turn this on?
It's on.
This young man has blessed. Ooh,
Hey, quit it.
with
He
our
sparked me. He'd been touching batteries.
So anyway, okay, fine. You're gonna be that way. Anyway, a good friend of mine. He knows a lot. He's helped a lot of people. I'm going to give you a few minutes. You tell us what you think and talk to them, not me. Don't look at me. I don't have any money.
I'm waiting for you to be quiet so I can talk. We're not going to do the Dave thing, are we? My wife and I have been RVing for about 5 years, full time. And we've owned 3 different motorhomes. First one was a 31-foot Bounder. It was great, but it didn't have a slide. The second one was a 1999 diesel pusher, Bounder, 36 foot with 1 slide. And our last wonderful home is a 40-foot National RV, and it's the cat's meow. We don't know why anybody wouldn't want to live in an RV all the time. But we talked to a lot of people. The first 3 years we were on the road, we asked people, why do you like fifth wheels? Why do you like travel trailers? Why do you like a 36-foot instead of a 40-foot? What do you think about tandem axles? You know, on and on and on. Any question that I could think of to ask, we asked. And we noted them all down. That was our research. For 3 years, every time we went by an RV dealer, we stopped in. We wanted to see what was new, what was exciting, what was coming up, and talk to the dealers, talk to the salespeople. And we told them, we're not buying, we just want to pick your brain for some information. And most of the dealers, most of the salespeople were very, very willing to give us the information. A few weren't. They didn't want us to know their trade secrets. Don't worry about it, I know them anyway. But at the end of that time, we wrote this little book. It's Buying the Right RV with Confidence. The pictures on the front of it, one of them is our unit, and then there were some others around the parking lot where we were. We were staying at Casino del Sol in Tucson, and they'd let you stay there for 3, 4, 5, 6 months at a time. So a lot of these people were regulars there. They came in every winter and stayed there, and we got to talk to them. The end result was we put this book together, and it covers everything from pop-ups to tent trailers to big motorhomes, fifth wheels, travel trailers. And we set it up so that we said, this is what we think, and this is why we think it. This is what we recommend, and this is why we recommend it. These are the people that seem to like fifth wheels and why they like them. This is why people like motorhomes. This is why people like C-Class. Anything that we could talk to and find out, why did you get a C-Class? Why did you get a road trek? We ran into people that were living in a van. And I'm not talking about a road trek van. I'm talking about a van that used to deliver stuff with barn doors on the side and a back door. They had been living in that for 17 years. He had made the furniture for it. So people live in very small places. And we prefer a bigger place.
We've got 2 dogs, a cat, and 2 people, and 40 feet is just absolutely wonderful. We've got everything is planned, everything is figured out. But if you're interested in buying this doesn't have to be your first RV. There are a lot of ideas in here that can be your second, third, or even fourth RV. Particularly if you're not living in it full time, you might not have seen or remember all of the reasons that you didn't like the one that you're selling and you want to get a new one. So I'd recommend that if you're interested or you have a friend that's interested, pick up the book. It's a lot of fun to read. It's a short read. It's only 100 pages or so. And if you do get it today, I'm going to be hanging around. If you want an autograph, I'll be happy to autograph it for you. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. Thank you so much.
How much is the book?
$12.97.
Huh?
What's with it? Things that end in a price with a 7 are perceived by the buyer as being cheaper. So if you have 99, you say it's $13.99. That's 14 bucks. Come on, really? But if you say it's $13.97 or $12.97, oh, that's $12. So it's a psychological, and I've got a doctorate in psychology, so but that's a marketing gimmick that retailers have learned to market down to a 7 at the end. Yes, ma'am.
That's not my fault. I didn't make these prices.
No, that's important because that shows what an analytic mind you have, so the detail in your book is also going to reflect the same kind of thing.
I hope so. There's a sample book around here when you guys are, everybody get out, put the sample book back. But you kind of get an idea of our thinking, and it is pretty cut and dried. We're kind of like Dave. We tell it like it is.
What's your name?
Jim Macy.
And your 40-foot has 3 slides?
2. Yeah, it's got a living room slide and a bedroom slide. And we talk about full side slides, opposing slides. What is a good thing about an opposing slide? It helps to balance the other side. We have one fellow we talked to could never get his coach balanced because once he put the slide out, it was too heavy and it tipped the coach like this. So if he had an opposing slide, he could have gotten it like that. Opposing slides can be good. Problematic, but good. You'll have to talk to Dave or Dan about, the fix-its on slides. Good. I guess I've used up my time.
I'm sorry?
I said, I guess I've used up my time.
Yeah, that's all right, though.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good man. All right, you guys go take a break. We'll be back in about 10 minutes, and we'll do this until you guys are tired. So let's get into the water system, and then we'll do the appliances. We pretty well hit on everything else.
Yeah, we've done trailer lights. I do want to hit on bearing packs. Bearing packs, fifth wheels and trailers, every year or two. Everybody says, well, we only went once the last 2 years. It's not the amount you travel, it's the amount of time that grease has been in there. On a bearing, they call it a bearing because it's bearing weight. It's holding all the weight of your unit on 4 little surfaces. So if it's sitting next to your house and the wind is rocking that sideways, that bearing's sitting there just rubbing. Even though there's grease, it's rubbing back and forth, and you can get a flat spot. We see it all the time. Bearings, when they blow up, are worse than when the tire blows up, because usually the rim and the hub and everything comes off. Then you've got 150 pounds of torpedo shooting through the bottom of your fifth wheel. So bearing packs are really probably one of the least expensive things you can do on a unit. So do that every couple years. If you drive 10,000 miles a year in your trailer, then do it every year. Okay. Hold on, I got, you're second, I promise.
You said fifth wheels and trailers.
Motorhomes you can go a little longer on. They got bigger bearings, bigger bearing surfaces. I would, depending on your motorhome, some of them are what they call a lifetime bearing. They're non serviceable. They call them a sealed bearing, lifetime bearing. They're good for 5 years. I don't know how they get lifetime out of 5 years, but they're only basically about every 5 years. Some of the big Highline fifth wheels have non-serviceable lifetime bearings, 5 years. They're expensive bearings. You have to push the bearings out, press the new ones in. You have to turn the. It's a bigger expense. But 95% of us out here, we have serviceable bearings. Every 4 to 5 years on a motorhome, every 2 years on a towable. Yes?
So, 11-year-old just bought it, motorhome Class A. I probably should have my bearings checked.
Did you buy it here or somewhere else? Definitely.
And is that something that they can readily see without taking everything off? Or?
Well, we wouldn't see it. We just do it. There's no way to really inspect them until you get into them. We have people come in and say, I want you to inspect our bearings. Well, if we're going to inspect them, we already have them in our hand. We're just going to do the whole service because we got to put it back together anyways. The only part we're lacking is cleaning the grease, spinning them, make sure they're good, and putting the grease on. So you would just call and tell them you need a bearing service. If you bought it somewhere else, yes, I would do that. Here, at Guaranty, we actually have a PDI process that includes taking the tires down, looking at the bearings, the brakes, so that we know what we're selling to you is safe. We good? Okay. Water system, you want me to take over? You go what?
Baby, I just want to talk about a couple items. I'll just interrupt.
You're good at interrupting. See, they've all figured you out.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you said you had a couple things you wanted to talk about.
No, I just said I'll
Water
interrupt.
systems. This is the best time when the weather starts getting a little nice, like tomorrow. If it almost might be a little early this year to de-winterize if you're winterized. Because this weather we've had is so weird, I'm not sure we may not have another big freeze.
They're saying it's snow on the 16th.
So you may not want to winterize or de-winterize. When it comes time for you to go camping and you're going to de-winterize, don't do it the day before you're going to go camping, because that's when you're going to find out you have a leak. It may not have been freeze damage, but you're going to have something go wrong. Any of this getting ready for spring camping, do it way before your camping trip, because that's when you're going to realize that a squirrel chewed up some wires and your furnace doesn't work. You have a leak at your water heater. The TV's falling off the wall. Stuff that was okay when you put it to bed, but now you got issues. Because we have people call the day before their camping trip in April or May, and they get so mad at us because we can't get them in today. They'll be here in 30 minutes, and they want us to fix their trailer for them. Well, we already have 50 appointments this week. And if I bring you in, then I have to take somebody that's made an appointment and say, sorry, sir or ma'am, I can't help you. This guy's mad because we can't help him. This is just a scenario that we go through every day. We love to help you, but it's your responsibility to find these issues and let us know in plenty of time to get you in, get you fixed, and go camping. Then we're all happy. So you're going to fill your unit with water. You're going to de-winterize it. You're going to fill it up with water like you're going to go camping. And right before you're done filling it with water, you're going to take, this is called cleaning your tanks and pipes. You're going to take anywhere from a cup of bleach to a gallon of bleach. He says a gallon, I say a half cup. Maybe he's wanting to do his hair, I don't know. Whatever amount, somewhere between a gallon and a cup, is enough to sanitize all your water heater, your water pump, your lines, your tanks, everything. What this is going to do is go in there. Your tanks have been sitting for the winter. When you empty your fresh tank in the winter, there's always a little bit of water in the bottom of that tank that can't come out. Because of the spin fitting they put in the bottom for the drain, it has a lip on it. So there's water sitting in there. That water, of course, water does go bad when air gets to it. It gets skunky, and so by filling your system, putting bleach in it, running your pump, running water through every faucet, your toilet, your shower head, you're getting that bleach in the system. Let it sit for 2, 3, 4 hours. Then you're going to drain your tank. You're going to fill it with fresh water. And you're going to repeat this a couple times until you get that bleach smell out of the system. It's a great thing to do. Bleach is, if you're just drinking a gallon of bleach, it's probably not the best. Believe it or not, there's bleach in just about everything we touch or use nowadays. It's not caustic unless you're, like I say, drinking a gallon. So you may still have a little of the smell. Now, once you've done that, you're ready to go camping. Unless you want to sweeten the tank, as he calls it. I call it making pickles. Because I usually take, after my second or third wash, a whole box of baking soda, and I put that in the fresh water, and then run it through the whole system. And that kind of takes some of the bleach smell out. Dan thinks that if you take vinegar, and I just give him a bad time, apparently this works. If you put vinegar in the tank, apparently it gets rid of the bleach smell, but then you smell like you're making pickles. That's always my joke. Or Easter egg, yes. So one of the two then sweetens your tanks, your hoses, your water pump, gives you all fresh water, even if you don't use your freshwater tank. A lot of people only park camp. Even if you're park camping, you should always have a half tank of water in your unit ready to go at any time. We camp a lot, and I know 2 times last year, once at the coast, once at Harbor Vista, once at up above Sweet Home, Riverbend. They had power outages, and I remember the people camping on both sides of us saying, "What are we going to do?" We can't, because they were on wells. They had no water and they had no power. People were in complete freak-out mode because they thought the end of the world had come. They couldn't flush the toilet, couldn't do dishes, couldn't take a shower. If you always have some water on board, all you got to do is reach over and hit that little switch that says pump. And you can take showers, not as many, and you have to kind of, watch your usage. But it'll usually always get you through the power outage. So you want to keep water on board. When you get home, if you want, drain it out. But before I go anywhere, I carry a full tank because I know my wife. I'm not going to say don't take showers. So, and with her hair, she's got pre-treat and a post-treat and an after-treat and a between-treat, and I don't know. I've never seen an hour and 15-minute shower until I met her. So I carry every bit of water I can. And I just pay for the fuel to drive it around.
I have a Truma system. When you do the sanitizing of the tanks, you go ahead and run it through.
Yeah, it'll run right through. Her question is the Truma water heater, which is the best water heater in the world. If you ever had a little extra cash to spend and you want to be able to truly take a non-stop shower for an hour and 15 minutes, buy a Truma water heater. Not an Atwood, not a Girard, a Truma. Because they are a true on-demand water heater. These other ones are kind of phony. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. But they're not very good.
Well, they have
So,
issues.
a lot of issues.
Truma has been able to figure out how to incorporate a small mixing tank so that you aren't a slave to trying to balance your hot and cold.
Yeah,
they do very well.
We've installed probably 30 now, and we have not had one back for any service. So, anyways, get into water heaters. Now that you've done all this and your tanks are fresh and everything's good, you're going to turn off your hose, go in, open a hose to get the pressure off the system. You're going to go out and open your hot water outside water tank, and you're going to take the plug out. And about somewhere between 6 and 12 gallons of water is going to want to come glurging out. you're going to take this little thing. It's a water heater washout. You're going to hook it to a hose. Oh, thanks. You're going to have a plug outside. You're going to take that plug. Just like the water heater in a house, any heavy metals that makes it through your, anything that makes it through your filter, it's going through your system, it's going to come in this and sit right in the bottom of your hot water tank. You're going to take this, you're going to pull this plug, you're going to stick it in there and turn it on and run it back and forth and turn it back and forth, and you're going to see, you'll be amazed what comes out of the bottom of your water heater. But by getting it out of there, that contamination isn't eating into your water heater. It's going to keep your water smelling better too. We get a lot of people that come in and say, my hot water smells like sulfur. We instantly go right here because we know what it is. This is just ugly gook. You'll be surprised. Once you see it happen, you'll clean that every 6 months, I guarantee it. You're going to get this in water because you have the hose going, and there's water going to be pouring out, so don't wear your favorite high heels, you know. Just pouring out on the ground. So don't do it inside the garage either. You want this out on the, you know, the driveway or next to the house. Yeah, water's going to be going everywhere. Piece of cake. I can see you doing it. Oh, where's your? Oh, in the street? Do it in the street. It's not against the law. Or you can bring it by and ask us to do it. We charge a half hour. Okay. Yeah, just let them know you want your water heater washed out. And another thing we offer is a spring tune-up, which it's not, but usually people will say, give me a spring tune-up and wash my water heater out. Spring tune-up consists of propane check, water check. We make sure everything's tight, make sure your working pressures on your propane are right, you have no leaks. We check your tires, your batteries. There's 50 or 60 things we check for, what is it, $89.95? 99 bucks?
Yeah.
Or, right. But from what I heard earlier, I think I'm going to change the price to $89.97.
Are you getting full for those right now?
No, we can do them. We do spring tune-ups all year long for some reason. We call it a spring tune-up because it got popular in the spring. But a lot of people have us come do it even before they put it away for the winter. And then they'll, we actually call it a fall tune-up. But yeah, we can do the same check anytime.
When you bring that in, you can also say, check the seals on my roof.
Check the seals on my roof. We actually check the seals on your roof when you come in for the spring tune-up. That's part of it.
Okay, because we just have it done, so we don't need to come in and have them check the seals on the roof.
Nope. If you just had a spring tune-up and we didn't find anything on your roof, you're good to go.
Okay, because it doesn't list every item that you check.
No, but we do. I can guarantee you if you come in for service, we check your roof. Not only because we're concerned about your investment, but it's one of those things. If we do find some bad spots, we would like to catch it for you, but we would also like you to have us fix it. So that's how we keep the lights on. And go ahead.
While we're out here in the weeds, she has a question about her
Out
truma.
here in the weeds?
Kind of off topic.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. No, that's good.
While you're blathering, she has a question.
Okay.
The turbo system has a little 1-gallon holding tank. Do I need to flush it?
I believe it flushes itself, doesn't, when you put the bleach through.
Her to you because
Yeah. All
I
that
sell
water
'em.
cycles through.
Okay, good.
All that water cycles through.
Oh, sweet.
So you're good.
I love that.
What brought this up was years ago we had a guy in Florida lived down there for 2 years with this water in his tank. Decided to move back to Oregon. Short story, I know I'm out in the weeds apparently. Put a bunch of water in his tank. Headed up the freeway to come to Oregon and turned on the faucet and this green slime rolled out of his, well, his tank he had left the bottom off, and of course wasps and those little geckos and anything else in our world that crawled up in there were rotten. And when we took the tank out of his King Air, Very expensive tank, by the way, about a 200-gallon tank. It looked like a swamp inside. They were green. It was green. We couldn't salvage it. We had to get a new tank. So after that, that's become one of the topics I go over on the seminars is fresh tanks. Did he tell you I'm out in the weeds?
Yeah, I was looking for you.
I haven't heard out in the weeds since my grandfather. That was an age thing.
He's close.
Uh-huh. Okay, so let me make sure we're going over holding tanks.
So while he's reading,
Yes.
I want to step in for just a minute. Again, we're not doing this to try and sell you something, but my other soapbox has to do with our spring tune-up. And I know that there are other dealers that have started doing this. You just need to find a dealer that you trust and have this kind of thing done. We charge you, I think it's $100 or a little less, 2 hours of labor, and we do some very important things. We inspect your tires, your roof, and that. But the most important thing that we do is we check your LP system. Now, it's a very low pressure system, but having said that, RVs move. My house has natural gas and it's all black iron pipe, and you know, my house has not moved very much. So we don't really worry much about the gas leaking. And it runs at a slightly lower pressure, the natural gas does, than the propane systems in your RV. So if you were to buy a coach, new or used, there's actually federal law and state laws that say that you have to have the propane system tested. It is a safety default to make sure that this system that's moving and flexing constantly doesn't have a leak. We do that as part of our spring tune-up, fall tune-up, winter tune-up, whatever. We check your appliances. We don't repair anything, but we inspect everything and we tell you this is what we found. Generator won't start, you got an LP leak, your regulators failed. There are several things that we do when we do an LP test. The regulator has to deliver a very specific, just like in your low voltage, propane is designed to function between 11 and 11.5 inches of water column. Much below that, furnaces won't light, refrigerators won't function right. So your regulator has to deliver a very specific pressure. It has to be able to do that while running the furnace and a couple other like burners or something. So you're using a good amount of propane. We do this and we verify whether you're safe or not. And while we're on safety, that's as much as I'm going to say about the spring tune-up, but it is a good safety thing. One of the biggest things that we've discovered is when I was younger in Idaho, we always told people if they smell gas, open the windows and go out, turn off your gas. Well, it was determined, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago now, that propane does not pass through screen. So if you open your door and you don't want bugs to get in, so you close the screen door, you have closed off the propane's exit. Propane will not pass through screen material. So what we tell people is if you smell propane, this is not a time to start looking around for it. If you smell propane in your coach, number one, you go out, take your dog, your kids, whatever you've got, leave the door open, go around, close the propane, go for a 15-minute walk, come back and you can start snooping around to see if you have a problem. But do not close the door. If you think that opening windows and closing the screen doors can help, all that's doing is holding that in. So if you smell propane, don't turn any light switches off or anything. Just go out, leave the door open, turn your propane off, go for a short walk. Any other questions about what I just said before we get back to him? Everybody looks asleep. Okay, back to you, Dave. You can liven back up.
I wasn't going to mention it before, but
yeah, it's all right. I'm a big boy.
Appliances. A lot of this is what I just said a minute ago. We're getting close to the end here. Test your stuff out in plenty of time. There's an old saying, and I can never get it right, about your failure. Yeah. Don't call me and get mad because I can't get you in right away. We'd love to help all of you, but we have to do it in order to make everybody happy. So fire your appliances. Do a test camping. I know my boss goes out in his driveway and they lock the house up and they camp in the driveway. They turn the furnace on, put the antenna up, watch a little TV, pretend you're going camping. That's when you're going to say, whoa, the refrigerator has turned off 3 times today and it won't stay lit. That's when you call and say, hey, we're going camping in 4 or 5 weeks. I'd like you to look at my refrigerator. So you're also going to want to go out on units that are stored outside. You're going to want to open your outside appliance compartments, your water heater and your refrigerator, because this is where wasps like to go. This is where squirrels like to go, and mice all like to hibernate in these little holes. So you're going to open your refrigerator compartment. There's 2 little black little squares. You take a penny and turn them, and it pulls off. You're going to want to look in there, make sure that it's clean. You know, if you have a compressor, blow it out. If not, just make sure it's not full of spider webs and old walnut shells from a squirrel. Or a lot of people will store their unit next to their house. They leave it plugged in. They leave the refrigerator on. Or they leave the furnace on 50 all winter because they don't winterize it. That is an excellent environment for mice and squirrels. So you want to make sure the mouse didn't build his house in the back of that refrigerator where it's a nice 80 degrees. Because as soon as you go camping and you turn on the propane, you're going to have a live flame back there. And if he's built his bed right back there, then you could have a fire. So, yeah, be awful small, but yeah.
We put mothballs in those openings. Do you think that helps?
It could. I've heard it does. I hear that a lot of these orifices on these appliances, they have this propane spider that people laugh at us all the time. But we get customers that have had their unit 6 months and their water heater won't light. We bring it in and we tell them, we have them fill out this piece of paper that says anything that's not deemed warrantable, you know that you're going to have to pay me. And you shake your head yes, and we smile and shake Dan's hand, and you go home. And we call an hour later and say, well, we tore it off and we took a picture of this great big white spider web down in your burn chamber, burn tube. Well, I didn't put it there. I know you didn't, but unfortunately warranty won't cover that, so I need to charge you $130. Then when you come to see Dan, you're not smiling. You don't shake his hand. Service writers got it hard, I'll tell you what. They got a rough job. If these things happen, not everything's covered. Under the first year warranty, usually sales says, let's clean their spider web out, shake their hand, tell them to have a nice day. That goes back to the whole thing we have going between sales and service. We work really well together. So check stuff, keep it clean. With mothballs goes flea collars for cats. Has always been, every camp spot you go to, some old timer tells you something new. That's been around for 40 years probably. Buy a cheap flea collar at the dollar store and cut part of it and put in behind your refrigerator and hang the other piece in your water heater. And does it work? I don't know, but it can't hurt. I've seen flea collars in water heaters and clean spider webs out before, but who knows, that maybe you have to change them like you do on a cat. Maybe that's a once a year thing. That flea collar might have been old. But you do see less of them with spider webs with flea collars, so for $1, hey, let's try it. I don't know if they've actually done a scientific study. Apparently not, or Dan would know all about it. That's all I have. I've been flapping and flapping. I'm dry. All you've been doing is interrupting and insulting me. So it's your turn to.
I'm good at that. You know, that's what I do. So we're basically done. I just always like to bring up a new thought. A lot of people like having their cell phone and their internet. They're on the road. They want to do some banking. They want to keep up with the kids and the grandkids via email. And our industry is a little slow, but we tag along behind the trucking industry, and there are things out there that the trucking industry has jumped onto that work really well. For cell phone and things like that, there are some systems out there that work extremely well. They've been out for about 10 years. What they do is they have a modem type, that's a router that amplifies the signal. And we put an antenna up on the roof, and then one that transmits and another one that receives, so that you can get cell phone 5 bars out in the middle of nowhere in Death Valley, and mobile, and it works very well. Another thing is the two technologies have kind of diverged, because we used to offer that you could piggyback it to your laptop, but that doesn't work as well as this technology. WineGuard has had some really good years lately, had some really bad years, but ever since they hit on the Traveler for the last 10, 12 years, that company has been golden. They have the money now to do some very good engineering. If you're looking at satellite, Dish Network is the better of the two. They do pay-as-you-go. The Traveler automatic dishes, in-motion is dead. It's a gone technology, but these automatic roof mounts where they turn around and they come up and look just like what's on your house, those are phenomenal. But some of us have had all the fun out of regular TV. So we've kind of jumped on the Roku bandwagon, R-O-K-U. The neatest thing that you'll ever come into contact with. If you like to browse and you like to learn, and you don't really want to listen to CNN, you want information, you want entertainment. If you had a Roku, you could get 50, 60 times as much information as you could from DirecTV or Dish Network, and it wouldn't be talking heads. It'd be real information. But there's a lot of BS in there too, but these Roku things are 60 bucks. They're free. The information is free, but you have to have internet. And this, back talking about WineGuard, WineGuard has done a very good job with this. I was very skeptical until we were 6 months into it, and in 6 months this company sees huge volumes. So now that we're into it a year and a half or so, this is quite a go-to product. What this does is send and receive internet signal. So if you are on the cusp of a Wi-Fi system, like if you are a Guaranty guest or one of our Wi-Fi systems that we offer, you can have one of these quarter of a mile from here, and you can use internet. If you have access to anybody's internet, you don't need a password, you don't need a subscription. You use this to support your Roku. You can basically anywhere in North America, you can have free television, and there's live streaming, you know, whatever program you want, there's live streaming, and there's all sorts of information. If you want premium movies, they're $1 a piece. You know, I'm not promoting this, I'm just telling you about it, but I personally, I called up Dish Network months ago and I told them I about threw it out the window, you know, stop, I'm done. Because my Roku, I found I did that 20 hours a week, and I never turned on my dish because I just didn't like the programming anymore. But this is out there for those people that want internet, you want to email, you want whatever, and if you are interested in entertainment, better quality, look at that Roku. Those are two really interesting products that we have in America right now.
And that device that you have over there, is that internal or external to the roof?
This goes on top of your roof. It's like an upside down stool. Those are antennae for receiving and transmitting, because you communicate back and forth. If you have a Roku, you can receive, but if you use your laptop, you can download and you can upload, and
So that just boosts the signal to the internet. So
it makes it so that, yeah, it's a very secure system that you can use wherever internet Wi-Fi is available.
What is that, the Wi-Fi passwords?
No.
You
Well,
don't have to be hooked up to Comcast or.
no.
Bag of worms there, didn't you?
No. And you had a question?
What is the cost for one of those?
It's a good question. I think they're like $380. Yeah.
That doesn't talk to your TV, right?
That doesn't what?
That only talks to your mobile devices. It doesn't.
Right. This brings in Wi-Fi, and you would hook that to your laptop or a Roku device or whatever you had. There's several devices out there now that are getting you access to the internet.
Right. I watch programs all the time on my iPad or my telephone. TV programs.
Right. And
Wi-Fi, not through that, but it's just Wi-Fi.
And you can do that if you have a laptop or a tablet and you have access to the internet. You can go onto YouTube or wherever and pull down any video you want, or live streaming.
Like on the internet, you can get ID Go and stuff like that, so you can watch all their programs on your mobile device.
Absolutely.
But how do you get that to your TV?
Well, okay, that's the whole point of a Roku, because
The Roku does.
the Roku is what descrambles the signal and presents it to your TV and DVR or whatever.
Okay, because when I had
Or not DVR, your Blu-ray.
on my TV, cable and internet at my home, and the tech guy said, "Well, get a Roku, and then you can just, you don't have to be hooked up to the."
Right, and that's what my whole point is you don't need to spend that $100 a month through DirecTV or Dish Network. You get a Roku, which is $40-60. It's a little thing.
Right.
Takes 12 volts, and with that, the signal comes in. This is very good at capturing and sending signal. Then this goes to the Roku, which goes to your TV, and with that little tiny remote, you can go anywhere. It's amazing. Yes?
We have something that's called Stream Smart,
Yeah,
and it has to be hooked to our internet.
right.
Would that help
Yes.
us in the
This-
RV then?
This would, yeah, there's a couple of issues with that, but you have to get a amplified modem for that. It has to, I don't know what they call it. It's a booster in this industry. You have to have that, but it'll work.
Okay.
It's the same thing. It's,
thing.
you guys are seeing Dan on TV, that really rough-looking Hispanic guy, same name as mine, say, talk about Sling. Sling is on Roku, and you can click on Sling, and you can pick any kind of program that HBO or anybody else has, and it's either free or really cheap. Yes?
Dan, is that wireless to the Roku or whatever? Or
No, it's he and I are into conspiracy theories, and I personally don't do anything wireless in my home because of the microwave radiation.
Dave, is it wireless?
It can be. It can be, but just because you got a hot rod Dell and it comes with 2 Wi-Fi antennas to communicate with your router doesn't mean you have to go wireless, because you lose some communication, and I don't want to get into conspiracy theory, but I live out in the sticks, and I came across a guy in a half-ton pickup once, and I walked up to his window and looked in because he was quite suspicious. And he had a laptop there, and he was scanning. He was sitting out probably 300 feet from a house, looking at what they were doing in the house. So, no conspiracy theories here. I don't do wireless.
It's not a conspiracy.
Yeah. So, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not here for that. This is a very interesting product. There's things out there. Roku is the best. I'm just saying, just look at it, and I'm just making you aware of it. It's just wonderful stuff. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Because I work till 5:30. He's about ready to go home.
I have a question. You're talking about inspecting the gas and propane.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been reading out there RV travel and everything, and there's people who are saying, because it's different across each state what the requirements are, but somebody was saying that you had to have a certification on your device, your propane device?
No, these laws are federal laws, and correct me or augment me here, but it's a very standard test. The only time you have a certificate slapped onto your propane system is, let's say you decide to take the inside passage and take a ferry up the inside passage. You get on a ferry in America or in Vancouver, they will secure your propane system, and that's the only time that I'm aware of that you're going to ever get a tag, and it's a lockout. Any comments?
No, I believe that's right.
Okay.
Is there anything you know about crossing over into Canada that they're more particular about anything that we are?
Did you hear that?
Canada. Well, you can't have your propane on when you go into Canada, I know that.
Hey?
And you're actually not supposed to travel with your propane on. I don't know if anybody knew that.
Supposed to do that anyway, right?
Yeah. If you're traveling in Oregon with your propane on and they pull you over, it can be a pretty big ticket.
Well, that's if you have a towed vehicle. If you are motorized,
Yes.
yeah, you have to be able to.
Different.
Yeah.
So a Class A would be
Yeah, any frame-mounted tank, it's legal. If it is a portable or removable cylinder, it must be shut down.
So legal versus safe.
Well, in the United States, there's nothing, you know those burn spots on the side of the road? We used to see them all the time. I'm from North Idaho, and right below Troy is what they call the Lewiston Grade. And it was like that. And in the summer, some people that are going up like this would get so overheated they would catch on fire, and you'd get this burn ring, and there would be one rim, and we're not quite sure what that was. But we're not seeing failures from propane. We're seeing failures from non-maintained coolant systems and extreme heat from the engine. That's where we were getting fires at.
We used to see that a lot from Roseville and Sacramento up to Reno.
Yeah.
When the grid did start
Yeah,
fires.
absolutely, because of the extreme heat.
So to answer your question, we're going to tell you the legal part. That you get to do what you want. I drive around with my propane on.
In your RV, right?
My fifth wheel.
Oh, okay. I got an RV.
In my fifth wheel, I leave my propane on. I let the refrigerator cook all the way to the campground.
I don't
That's
agree
me
with that.
that's me taking a chance. I'm not saying you do that. I've never been pulled over and had my propane checked, so
What's your license?
probably someday, when I'm pulled over someday, I'll think, wow, I should have probably turned it off. But a refrigerator is designed to hold basically the same temperatures when you shut it off until you open it for about 5 hours. So they say 5 hours traveling, you shouldn't have to have your refrigerator going. But I have my fridge on auto, so when I unplug, it kicks on, I hook the truck to it, and we leave. But could something happen? Sure. my Roku device could call the police and tell my Siri that I have my propane on, because it is a conspiracy. Yeah, yeah.
So
Ma'am?
generally speaking, changing the subject, is it safe to de-winterize like April 15th, May 1st, what, in this area?
It's totally up to you. Again, I can't guarantee. I don't know when the first freeze is going to be, and I don't know when the last one is.
It was 31 degrees this morning at home.
So you just kind of have to play that. If you have propane in your system and it's getting closer to the season you're going to go, de-winterize it. Get water in it. Just be prepared that if it does have another good freeze, you may have to turn your furnace on in that unit, open some cupboard doors like Grandma did in the old farmhouse, and turn the furnace up to 50, 55, and let it burn a couple days. Burn as in heat. Let it heat for a couple days to keep you from freezing up. It's going to cost you 10 or 12 bucks in propane, but I've never winterized. I've always just ran my propane heat during the winter and watched it, and during the day turned it off, and at night turned it on.
So I want to answer that a different way.
Okay.
I agree with him, but, and he taught me this. If we have found that if it dips down to 31, who cares? What freezes and starts causing damage, and the first things to go are the toilet valve and the kitchen faucet. But what the tipping point is around 28 degrees for a couple days. So we need a little bit more than just a couple hours at 31 or 30. That doesn't do a thing for the system. The newer systems, the plumbing is designed to be able to expand a little bit. Now the valves and the metallic faucets don't do well. But if it gets down to 26 one night and pops right back up, yeah, a little bit of sweat, but you'll be fine. That's the criteria that we go by.
Yeah, to maintain the cold. You know, if it's 50 during the day and 31 at night, your unit already is heading into the nighttime with its bones warm. You know, the walls are warm, the counters are warm. The radiant warmth in that is going to maintain enough warmth through the night so that 31, 32 is not going to hurt you. It's a big freeze. It's at 2 days. It's when it's 28 at night and only warms up to 35, and then you go through another 28 or 27, then slowly the bones get cold, the tanks get cold, the faucets get cold, and then that second night it hits you hard and it's ugly. Thanks for bringing that up.
So, seeing as you guys are still sitting here for whatever reason, one of the things that he and I still don't agree with.
Oh, you're going to have to bring stuff up.
Yeah, we got to go there. So, and he touched on this, so I'm getting through to him.
Oh boy.
The refrigerator, the manufacturers say if you keep your appliance, you pre-cool it 24 hours, you load it up, let it stabilize, you keep the refrigerator door, keep the grandkids out of the refrigerator, 8 hours, it will only lose 2 to 3 degrees. So if you were at 38, 8 hours later, when you're done driving, you pull into your next campsite, it's 39 or 40. That's not enough to ruin the beer, especially by the time you get plugged in, it'll come on automatically and cool it back down. But they and I recommend you turn it off. And the main reason that I have heartburn with this is you're going to be on the gas system, which is not a problem, but we find that if you drive down the road with your refrigerator in the on gas, because that's what you've got, you're going to be working the igniter quite a bit because the wind constantly is blowing it out. It's trying to relight. Plus, the way a refrigerator works is you have a chimney that basically is a heat exchanger. You're putting a bunch of heat into this. You have ammonia, nitrogen, and hydrogen, and you're using heat as a compressor, and you're creating a chemical reaction to ammonium, and then you drop through a pressure valve, and you lose all this pressure, and when it does that, when something goes from a liquid to a gas, it needs a lot of energy to get those molecules moving again and excited. So what it does is it pulls all of that energy out of the refrigerator cabinet. Having said that, when you're going down the road and the wind is cooling this heat exchanger, it becomes extremely inefficient. So number one, you're wasting gas because now it's extremely inefficient, and you're putting a heavy burden on the reigniter and on the system itself. So where he only goes 40, 50 miles, you know, that's not a problem. If you're going 300 miles, that thing's been working overtime all that time, and you're going to experience an accelerator decrepitude or accelerated failure of the components. So I recommend turn it off, do like the manufacturers say. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I wouldn't be worried so much about what's in a refrigerator, but what about the freezer? Is that true?
But that freezer, you have a chest freezer, right? A little chest freezer? Or are you talking about the freezer up here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here's the deal. Those 80 or 90% of the coolant in that system goes to cooling the freezer. The refrigerator may be 38, the freezer's going to be 0. And so let's say 12 hours later, with the door closed, it's 14. Ice cream is now perfect.
Yeah, frozen's frozen.
Beer, well, 12 hours later, you got to go to the bar.
5 hours, it won't lose any temperature. 8 hours or 12, you just said? Apparently
12 hours is what the manufacturer said.
Yeah. So, okay, so now he brought it up, refrigerators. For all you new people, after you drive somewhere, the proper technique for opening a refrigerator door is like this. Right. Look. And then open it a little more and listen. Then open it a little more and look. Because I don't care how well you pack that fridge, something is up against that door. And when it falls out, it's going to hit where it shouldn't and break. So I just thought of that.
Okay, one more. Okay?
Oh, it's going to up me now.
If you go to Denver, don't take any beer or soda. Because at 11,000 feet, it is going to totally mess up your refrigerator. So don't do it.
I got one for you.
Okay, one more.
If you have one of the fancy air-up beds, where you like yours extra firm and she likes hers extra soft, the sleep number, don't go to Denver with it in the firm range. Because when you get there, it's going to be extra soft because it's going to have got extra firm and split the seam on it. When those first come out, we had tons of those. So, everybody, thanks for coming. Have a great day.